Cancer, the moon is in Gemini and she's wanting to take a look back over this lunar cycle. And what did you learn? What are some things that you're seeing at with a new perspective? Maybe you need to just talk about some things. Maybe you need to write about some things. Just get a deeper knowing of what happened. So stay tuned to find out how to work with these energies. But before we jump into that, for those of you who are returning, welcome back, Soul Tribe. I appreciate your subscriptions, your likes, and shares. Your support really is just incredible, Cancer. And it keeps us learning. And for those of you who are new, welcome to the Chariot Friends. Justin here. Know that when you're coming across this channel, you're synced up with the moon, and she loves that. And this is also for those of you who have Cancer in your placements, for those of you who sync up with the moon. But if you have Cancer in your placements, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Mercury, wherever, this one's for you. And I do tarot cards spreads based upon ruler here, the good old moon. And I'll talk about what sign she's in, what phase she's in, and when she's going for. Of course, there's all those lunar shenanigans. And just so you're all aware, this is a general reading, not a one-to-one. So take what fits into your experience, discard the rest, and everything will be dope, Cancer. Now, let's jump into it. Alrighty, Cancer, your space has been cleansed. Crystals, feeling lovely. Just great energies all around here, Cancer. It's a busy day too here. Busy day. So busy I can hardly talk, Cancer. It's a busy day today, Cancer. Because, well, first off, depending on when you're watching this, happy Mars Day. It's a perfect day for moving all this big energy around. Mars is great for taking action, for maybe you got some moving that you need to get done. Maybe you just need to move the body. Maybe you're wanting to... This is just definitely a day if you got a lot of things that you need, moving pieces that you need to get going. Mars is there to provide the energy for that for you. So, and then this is something to think about too. One thing I like to work with the Mars hour is I like to try to get my workouts or any time that requires any sort of movement, whether this is like when I'm recording this is on a moon day, and right around like it was Mars hour when I just happened to be checking my phone, I'm like, you know what, I think I'm gonna do some yoga first, and then I'm gonna do this and then do that. And it was like it tied in nice. It went from Mars to the Sun and then to Venus. So it's like I did that, then did some meditation, did some stuff for my mental health, and then went into did some cleaning up there. So these are just some ways that you can work with these different times and these different days. And so I would invite you to explore that stuff. It can be a really great way of getting into a different type of flow there. But the reason there's a lot going on with this day too, because at about 3:40 earlier today in AM, and that'll be Pacific time, Neptune stationed retrograde at 29 degrees and 55 minutes of Pisces. Now, this is really interesting. I feel like this retrograde, because this is going to be her last one fully in Pisces. The next time that she goes retrograde, she'll dip into Aries and then go back into Pisces one last time. But I feel that the fact that she's kind of freezing here on that 29 degree, literally the last degree of the zodiac wheel before she starts a whole brand new 100, oh goodness, it takes her about 160 some odd years approximately to go around the zodiac wheel. So this, I feel, retrograde is really one to tune in to that void. I'm thinking about like this. I'm really thinking about the void, of course, energy when I'm thinking about this. But it's that place that you go to in meditation, that place that you go to when you're distracted, that place that you go to when you're daydreaming, when you're doing your favorite hobby, when you're in that flow state. I really feel like finding more time to get into that state while we're in this Neptune retrograde could be very beneficial, I feel, going into the next year to when she moves officially into Aries. So I feel like that's going to be an interesting type of adjustment. And I kind of think with her going into Aries and back into Pisces, there's going to be an integration period, like a buffering stage where it's like she first moves in, it's just like, oh man, this is wild. And then you pull back, it's like, okay, after seeing that, what do I do now knowing what's coming up? That's kind of how, I hope that makes sense, but that's what I feel this Neptune stationing retrograde gives us a chance to really feel into ourselves. What are some things, some chapters, some stuff that we're finally ready to let go? Maybe some old narratives, some old things, some old self-images that you've held on. And to treat this growth period. During this time, I feel while Neptune has been in Pisces since about 2011. I want to say is when she first entered into Pisces. And it's just looking at this last 14 years and what have you learned, how have you grown, how have you expanded your world. And I feel this is going to be very interesting because later this day Mercury is going to be entering Leo at about 5:50 a.m. And so now the mind kind of comes alive with new inspirations. I feel like it's like as we dip into this meditative state, new stuff starts to unlock in us and we want to maybe start expressing ourselves in different ways. Maybe you find you have a liking for maybe sports and you want to go join a team, or maybe you find a passion, maybe you want to go write a book, or maybe you want to run for your local community office or something. I feel like it's a very inspired energy with Mercury and Leo. It's very proud, very courageous. This could be something where we have all these outer planets, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto all retrograde. And it's just kids like you can start seeing stuff coming up for you. This inner fire, this inner lion starting to awaken in the mind. So just I feel like some ways to, and I go into this if you're curious about how these energies are, or you want a little bit more details into this, I go into this on my other channel. So if you want to check that out on my other channel, Alchemist 8, down in the description box below, I have a link for that down there for you to check that out as well. And I'll be coming out with a brand new one, talk about with the energies that'll include. Oh, we got another real busy week coming up. Actually excited. Oh, and for those of you who either had a birthday that passed or have a birthday coming up, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Is it gonna do it? Every time I feel like it does this. You know what? Okay, we're gonna move on. Cancer. But imagine balloons just risen up and it was a whole big thing. You enjoyed it, but. Yeah, hopefully you're enjoying this Cancerian time. I feel like it's been kind of an emotional one with all this water that we've been in. But hopefully you've been enjoying your birthday. You've been around this with loved ones, that you've set new intentions for the year. You've been reflecting on what's happened. And yeah, just looking forward to the growth that's coming your way. So, all right, let's get into the lunar shenanigans here, Cancer. Because depending on when you're watching this, the moon is going to be entering into the oh-so-chatty Gemini at about 8:49 a.m. And again, that'll be Pacific time. And she's in a waning crescent phase or a balsamic moon, Cancer. And you know what I really like about this with the lunar cycles is that, we start off with this new moon in Gemini, and then we end on a waning crescent into Gemini. And it's like we're getting that first little sliver of light from the intention that we set during the beginning of this. It's like, I feel this is a time to really dig into that Gemini side of things and really kind of, again, understand what you've learned. Oh, and let me get into just the moon in Gemini in general. The moon in I'm getting ahead of myself. The moon in Gemini can be just an energy of communication, of talking, of needing to maybe writing more. You may notice that your mind just becomes very, very it could be a bit more active. It could be kind of harder to dip into the heart space. I find with the moon in Gemini that separation of thinking and feeling gets a little skewed, just because you think about how fast the emotions can go and how fast the mind can move. And with that mutable air tracking with that, it can be kind of hard to ground stuff with the moon in Gemini. So writing can be a great exercise during this time if you find yourself feeling a lot of anxiety or feeling like you've been chatting a lot more. Maybe there's been just a lot of thoughts been coming up for you, maybe not being able to understand. And that's very common, when we get into air moons. It's a great day. It's a great, I find, energy, though, to understand that distinction between head and heart and how to mend the two. And when we think about Gemini, it is that duality that we're working with. So, those are just some things to pay attention to when the moon is specifically in Gemini. But I just feel like at this phase, this is just taking the things, like, what did you learn from this stuff? Or from this lunar cycle? What lessons came through? What are some things that, because I feel like with Gemini being that duality, it's like, you start off something, you have one idea, and then you get to the end of this and you had maybe you thought you were going to, you had intended on running this, let's say a marathon, for example. You had this time frame, and then you've gone through this month, and it's just like, maybe you got through and you're like, this may be a little bit easier than I thought. Maybe I need to push my body a little bit more. Maybe you thought had the reverse, and it's like, this is actually a whole thing. And maybe I might need maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years before I'm thinking about this. So, but I feel like it's it's also allowed, like, thinking too. I kind of think with this waning crescent, it's just like, were there any things that I kind of breezed over or that I missed? Were there any sort of like key points maybe that I've been wanting to look at from a different point of view? Maybe you had a particular time when the moon was in Leo and you happened to make note of that, or maybe when the moon was in Taurus, or when it was in Aries, or just a period of time where you just want to revisit something. I feel like it's like, this is a great time to wrap up any unanswered questions, or to find out if there's some more questions that maybe are beyond the mind, and maybe we need to take into the heart space when we get into this new moon in Cancer, when we get into that in a few days here. So very interesting, because I've been thinking about this, and this is something, one thing I want to mention too. Oh, interesting. Think of yourself. One thing I wanted to mention too, or one thing that I'm starting to kind of add on to this kind of segment of this channel, is if you have your moon placement in this sign, and what are some things that maybe you can expect with this moon placement. And if you happen to have your moon in Gemini, like myself, I happen to have moon in Gemini at 0 degrees 14 minutes, just freshly into Gemini, so it's a lot. And I find that can be, at least I've noticed with myself, and I've actually noticed there's an astrology group that I'm a part of, and this was a discussion that a few Gemini moons had brought up, and it was kind of nice to see that. I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one who's struggling with this. That understanding of thinking versus feeling. Because I feel that, especially with Gemini, that is, being one of the signs that is Mercury ruled, it is so associated with the everyday, with the thought process so much, and the communication, that it's just like all that stimuli I feel can kind of cloud out what is it that I'm actually feeling, maybe overthinking the feelings too much. And so I find, if you have your moon in Gemini, and this was something that really kind of resonated with me that I listened to recently. Writing can be a great one. Journaling, writing, keeping a diary, and not just writing the stuff down, and I'm still getting better about this. My handwriting, when I write slow, is nice, but when I'm writing just my thoughts down as they're coming, it's just a chicken scratch. But writing stuff down and then reading over your thoughts, seeing what's going on inside your mind, maybe even recording some things, possibly doing like a voice memo. This is some stuff that I'm struggling with. This is where I find myself caught in a loop, possibly. So that might even be something to explore with the moon in Gemini. But I've noticed with this placement too that it's just a very active mind. The moon in Gemini can pick up things very fast. And so I feel like it's just being mindful of that overload, but understanding that this is something where you can, you learn to work with the flow and this emotions and things. I feel like it's something where you can pick up things, again, just like very, very naturally and very quickly. Then I feel, just something I feel like to pay attention to if you have this moon placement as well. Now, last little bit here, or last thing I want to talk about is the void of course moon that's going to be happening on the 4th of July, and happy 4th for those of you who are in America. But that's going to be happening on a Jupiter day, and it's going to be happening between 1:43 p.m. and 1:51 p.m. Now, the void of course is when the moon forms her final aspect with the celestial body and she just roams the void. It's where I like to think of it as where you reflect on what happened during that time in Gemini and what happened. This usually isn't a time to start up things, it's usually a time for resting, a time for tying up loose ends and things along those lines. Hence why I was talking about maybe you want to look back even over this lunar cycle to see if there were any sort of unfinished business or unfinished thoughts that we may want to carry into, that may need to be brought into the heart space when we go into Cancer. And this could be something too, actually, now that I say that, something with the void of course energy is that the final aspect flavors the void of course, and the aspect she would have been forming was a square with Neptune. Now, when the moon or when the planets are in a square with one another, there's this tension, there's this call to action, or maybe even inaction, depending on when it comes to this square. But usually there could be delays, there could be challenges. And so maybe this could be this square. Maybe you're reflecting on some things that maybe you weren't able to, or having troubles integrating during this lunar cycle. Or this could be where I'm thinking with this moon in, with the moon being in Gemini, maybe there's a conversation that you're reflecting on where maybe I could have brought a little bit more compassion. Or one thing I wanted to bring up too, that I kept reading and I've been wanting to work this in, is that the North Node has been associated with Gemini energy, and that's like our spiritual growth path, our journey into the unknown, what we came to learn in this cycle. It's a very important point in the natal chart. And so I feel like this is where, this void of course is where maybe you thought things were going to go one way, but really they're going to be going a completely different way. Maybe there's a whole avenue that you hadn't even considered exploring yet, and where that can be exciting and a lot of learning coming through, that can also be a lot burdensome as well. So with this Gemini energy, again, things that come up with this, I feel like if you can find a way to ground that stuff, either writing it down, talking it out with some people, or maybe even recording some of this type of stuff, I feel like it can help bring some of that to order to when you're ready to deal with that, maybe at a later time when things feel a little more controlled and a little more grounded. So hopefully these are some tools and things to think about when you're working with these energies. And if you're curious about how to work with these a bit more intimately, check the description box check down the description box below to book a consultation with me. We can talk about the different programs I go over, whether we do like maybe just a one-off reading, or maybe we can do something a bit more extensive, either 3 month or 6 months. So depending on whatever your preference is and where you're at on your journey. So if that's something that resonates, you definitely check that down in the description box below. And then last thing, Cancer, these readings that they do, they aren't gender specific readings. So apply these energies to people as they make sense for your situation. Now, I like this general energy of the day here, Cancer, which is the cast away negativity. And I really dig this because I feel like that plays into the duality again of Gemini very nicely. You could either, Gemini has that perk of being able to see things from multiple perspectives. And I feel that if you've been kind of caught in a negative loop, it's kind of exploring that a lot further. I'll give you an example. Was having a conversation with someone not too long ago, and I had a big kind of, just a lot of emotions that were moving through, and in that, I just had this, I knew this, but it just really kind of sank in that it's just I'd spent a majority of just my late teens into my late 20s, or more so kind of my early teens into my late 20s, just not really, I was doing stuff, but there was no real I got lost in the fog of it. But where I'm really seeing that deficit is in the fact that I've not been actively on social media like this, and I've missed a whole bunch, and it's just it is very overwhelming and kind of off-putting. And I'm it's just it's a lot of work, and you wouldn't think that it's a lot of work, posting stuff and blah blah blah, but it's just I can't be bothered sometimes. It really is just kind of monotonous, and not even monotonous. It's a thing that I'm moving through. It's a personal, it's a lot of I'm feeling a lot of resistance with that. And so I could either stay, there's a point where I was feeling really negative about that, and it's just what am I gonna do? And, honestly, I'm still kind of working with that, trying to figure out what I'm doing. But it's I could either stay in this space of negativity, in which I've seen what that can do. I spent the last a little over a decade and a half doing that, staying in negativity. So now it's how do you work out of that? How do you move towards those things? How do you cast away? How do you see the duality in the things that life serves us up? It's everyone's working through something different. And it's not I feel that this cast away the negativity is ignoring the negativity. It's acknowledging that I'm feeling this way because there's this, because of that. And it's okay, there are all these things, but what is the dual side of that? I feel again with Gemini, there's always another perspective of this, another way of seeing things, another way out. But we just have to, I feel like there's this opening of the mind, there's a flexibility that's happening. And this may be too where it's understanding where not necessarily one over the other where I'm thinking like left brain, right brain, but it's, have we been leaning maybe too much into the feelings and need to rationalize something more, or vice versa here in order to get something to work with this, whatever this negativity is. But, and I feel too, something with Gemini, especially them being so focused, they're known as the communicators of the, actually, hold on, with Cancer, let me clear this noise up a little bit. All right, so they're known as the communicators of the zodiac, and I find that be mindful of what that internal dialogue is looking like. What are you telling yourself? Is there a lot of negativity going on, and really kind of observing that? But let's get some tarot on this, Cancer, and get some details. Something even thinking away too with that, Cancer. If you have a lot of thinking about Gemini, that's like our immediate environment, the people that we grow up with, and I feel like, is there a lot of people that you're around that has a lot of negativity? That's just kind of, it's one thing if you're going through something and you're just kind of processing some things, needing to talk some stuff out. But I feel if someone is staying into this kind of perpetual, it's one thing if you're kind of stuck, you're not sure what to do with it, but you're trying. But it's another thing when you're just like, we're just actively choosing to stay, to stay in that vibration. So that may be something where we need to learn to kind of like enforce boundaries from. Let's see what's going on here with this, Cancer. That's, whoa, Cancer. Interesting. A lot of majors here. So you have the Moon card and the Star card, Aquarius energy and Pisces in reverse. Then you have, how fascinating. Then you have their rulers here, their traditional rulers, very fascinating. Jupiter, the Wheel of Fortune, and Saturn, the World card here. And you have the Ace of Cups up right here, Cancer. Now, when I feel with this, Cancer, I feel like when we have, negativity comes up, it's that there's something that's wanting to be healed, that we just got from a Tower moment, because the card before the Star is the Tower. And I feel that maybe there's something for some right now where we're just going through the healing process here through the Ace of Cups, and maybe we're not understanding what a Tower was trying to pull out. We're not quite seeing the potential for growth from this thing. And right now we're just like, it's like I'm getting this energy of right now we're just kind of going through the motions right now. It may not feel, I know the Spider-Man's looking like he's celebrating it and got a lot coming in, but it may just not feel like that in the moment. I find it's interesting, I'm getting that with the spider. It's like, how spiders will just like kind of build their webs, and they're just waiting. They're not quite sure where the food's coming from, how the food's coming from. They just know that they just do the thing, and that things tend to come together. And I feel like this is, when I'm saying do the things, it's like you're doing the stuff to tend to your needs to process whatever it is that maybe has happened for you with this Tower that's bringing about this negativity, to see something a bit clearer for, like the Moon is seeing an illusion clearly. We're seeing, it's like something is ready to close out here with the world, and I feel like it's bringing big kind of implications here. I feel like there is this kind of, again, with all these majors, there's like this divine, almost, that's interesting. It's like this divine energy here of like bringing you this. I might get a little bit more on this Ace of Cups. Let me get some cards on that, Cancer, and get some more details with us, because I like this. I feel that there is this opportunity that when we make that effort to start understanding why something happened, to start growing from something. I feel like this is not, it's not something I feel like is making sense in that, with the star being in reverse here, because this is the only kind of like wedge in this story. But I feel that there's a chance to change the cycle, to end something, to move the negativity in a different direction, because it's part of the part of the flow. This is like, it makes me think about like kind of like that sort of like Pisces 12th house type of stuff, that Jupiter energy. Hold on, Cancer. Interesting. Thank you, guys. So the Ace of Cups is clarified by the Ace of Stars in reverse and the Two of Stars upright. And that's interesting. I feel like it's almost like maybe this healing process, or this thing that we're going through right now, this processing phase. Again, it's like there's gold here with the Ace of Stars being here. But it's just figuring out with this Two of Stars how to balance something out, how to ground something, how to make sense. I feel like this star card is, and I might need to let me get a little bit more with that star card too before we move on here, Cancer. But I feel this star card is and this, I'm not sure how much sense this will make, Cancer, but I feel like if there's, I'm getting a feeling of maybe not necessarily knowing how the healing is going to go, but it's like you just keeping the heart open to it. It's a very vulnerable thing that I'm feeling here. Let me get something with this star card here, Cancer, because that feels very tender. Okay, Cancer. Thank you, yourself. Fascinating. So the star card is clarified by the Ten of Stars in reverse, and then you have the Magician and the New Moon upright. And this is what I mean, Cancer. I feel like maybe something kind of maybe it's got you ungrounded, has maybe got you thrown off there, really kind of just got you maybe in a negative headspace. You're not sure what to do, but this new moon, this Magician to the New Moon energy, because the New Moon is one of the special major arcana cards in this deck. We're coming up on the New Moon, Cancer. And I feel that this Cancer energy can be one where you just let this I feel a lot coming with this, Cancer. It's like if you allow yourself to feel through this, feel yourself into these next few days from Gemini into Cancer. By the time I feel like the moon maybe gets to Leo, like there could be some, just like some sparks for some inspiration here, something along those lines, Cancer, something that can just help get something grounded. Or just help something make something. When I say grounded, it's just like something that can make make more sense, where let's get some more on this, Cancer. And I love that Magician being here, Mercury. Absolutely. Now let's see what else is going on here, Cancer. Because again, when you got a lot of major arcana cards coming up, that's a lot of stuff playing behind the scenes. But I feel it's starting by, again, we needed to make space. This negativity, I feel, is what's creating this wall between you and kind of this source energy coming through. Let's see what else is going on here. Alright, Cancer, so you have the Three of Cups, the Nine of Cups, and the Four of Swords in reverse. And then you have the Page of Swords and the Seven of Coins upright here. Now, this Four of Swords is giving me this very kind of anxious energy. Even this Three of Cups. Either we've been around... Yeah, maybe we've been around some people who've been very negative. Maybe that have been... knocking dreams down, and it may not even be maliciously, because I don't feel necessarily any like harsh feelings per se. That's not to say it can't happen with this Three of Cups, But it feels like that maybe there's even this. It's like you have this idea of like maybe how you want something to go down here, possibly Cancer, but it's just like something doesn't seem to be lining up with the Nine of Cups. The Nine of Cups is this, and when I say it's not lining up, it's like, it's almost like, okay, I'm thinking about the story in this card. I don't remember the whole details, but this woman here doesn't want anything to do with this guy, and he gets, oh my goodness, something about along the lines of turning, I think, a genie or something turns him into a woman, and then she loves him, and I feel like it's something like that. It's like you can't make, maybe you have this love for someone and you want them to, you're just like, why can't you see that I'm the one for you and all this? So this is just a wild example, just throwing something out there. And then it's like, of course, it doesn't work out. They can't be with you for some odd reason or for another. And it's not that it's not like you can't wish. It's just like you have all this love, but maybe it's just not for that. May not have been the person, but it was just knowing that you could feel that in order for you to invest in something different, possibly. I really hope that made sense. But the Seven of Coins here is giving me this too. How has investing in this kind of negativity, maybe that's something you've been stuck in for a while, how has that been affecting your vibration? Has it been, has it allowed new ideas to come in, or is it just the kind of same old stuff where we're just feeling out of alignment here, feeling in this, and I feel like that Four of Swords, or it's like coming into learning new ways of working with this negativity. Maybe this is putting up different affirmations. Maybe this is, getting into maybe different prayers, possibly even. Just learning to invest in new ways to speak to this negativity, to help transmute it into something positive, to adjust the vibration with this Nine of Cups being in reverse. So and I feel like there's something even here too where it's like if you're it's like I guess I won't get too I don't want to beat that to death. Let's get some advice from Mercury, Cancer, and wrap this up. All right, Cancer. Thank you, guys. That's a little bit here. Whew. Yeah, Cancer, there's major arcana city in here because you have the Judgment card, the Fool card, and the Death card here. All upright, Cancer. Let's switch back over. So, a lot of change here, Cancer. Very interestingly, and I like this. I've read where, and I kind of agree with this, where a lot of the the three outer planets, they haven't been necessarily given planets, where planets are. They have planets where they're domicile, of course, but you have places where they're also exalted or in fall. And Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto necessarily haven't been subscribed to those types of things. But I've read where Uranus is exalted in Scorpio, where it does very well. And that makes a lot of sense, even though it's technically like in this square to its home sign. But I bring that up to say there's a lot of change that's coming through this, and a lot of, with Uranus, the Fool in the mix, there could be this sudden change that is happening. But I feel that in order for it to happen, there is going to need to be this internal change that's happening, Death card to the Judgment card, that's an elimination, a soul purge, this old ways of believing. That's... But I feel like this is not necessarily something I feel is being pressured. Possibly. I just feel like it's more so of an awareness, and it's like I'm getting, it's like, because this with all this higher or this major arcana stuff, it's like it's something personal, something I feel you see a doorway, but it's just like, are you ready to go through that? Are you ready to behind this curtain here. There's something seeming a lot scary. See how this got this skull figure here, this wild, but it could just be just a human. You know, this just behind the mix. That's what I feel like this is. It's like maybe for somewhere. Yeah, that's very interesting, Cancer. So I think I'm going to leave that there. But I feel like this casting away, this negativity, this adjustment could lead to something. I don't feel like it's going to necessarily, it doesn't feel like an easy thing, but I feel like it's going, when you get on the other side of it or really start feeling the change. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave that there, Cancer. But if you like that, or if anything resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. And share this thing, Cancer. If you know someone who may resonate with this, may can find some nuggets of wisdom for this, absolutely share this. And then subscribe there. I mean, you spiritual being. Because, I mean, yeah, this is a lot of majors here, Cancer. Hit that bell button. Get notified when I have these videos each day. And then, like I was telling you at the beginning, if you want to, I do on my other channel, Alchemist 8, I talk about the weekly trends that go on. I have these videos where I do talk about different planetary placements and points in different houses and signs. So that's something that I'm actually doing some getting back onto that, doing some more videos today. So there's gonna be some more videos for that. And I'm calling that the Soul Tribe Archive. And that's meant to be a place where not just for me just to put in videos, but for you as well to comment on these videos if you have these placements, how this may be coming up for you. Because I'm just speaking very generally when I'm talking about these combinations, but it's the points and the aspects in the house place or in the how this is playing together in your life experiences, how this can really show how a chart can really come to life. And so, you know, I would love if people started commenting more on this stuff. We can give fun facts about these things, compare different stories. You know, if we need to, maybe we can expand on this. I want to start getting to where I start hosting like lives on this thing. Just really kind of make this more of a kind of a community thing. This is my attempt to try to get on this social media train and really kind of be intentional with it. So definitely check all that stuff coming out. I think I'm going to release a video going over just like a sample of like my own personal solar return chart from last year and what's been going on. And I might even do the ones for this year. And if you want your chart to be as an example chart for any of my upcoming readings for that, I would love, you know, reach out to me in my LinkedIn, Instagram, all that stuff. Down in the description box below. Let me get you a surprise, guys, here, Cancer. So I can get you out of here. You got the Two of Wands in reverse here, Cancer. And so I feel that there is this crossroads energy. It's like, I feel like you may feel like you have this two heads on one body, where it's like one side clearly wants to feel better. You know, I feel like no one really wants to just stay in negativity, stay in that space. But it really can be just sometimes you just energetically don't know how to get out of it. You know, not quite sure what that block is, what that thing is. And this could be, again, with Gemini, maybe we're talking about this, maybe we're writing this down, maybe you're recording a video and listening back to yourself, you know, like, and seeing, you know, and that might even be better with the video, so you can actually see your facial expression, see what's going on in your eyes, maybe even. This could be, man, that sounds very vulnerable. So I mean, that's something to maybe explore with, Cancer. But I feel this Two of Wands is, oh, no way. I love that. But I feel this Two of Wands it's going to be something where you're going to have to feel this stuff, Cancer. You know what? You got these. There's some big forces playing in here, Cancer. You got your oracle card here is the New Moon in Cancer. I hope you stay tuned to the end for this. And this is the card of relax. And I feel like this energy is, look at how still this water is. I do feel like it's trying to become still like that, to go beneath the surface. You know, it's always, the waves are always rocking on top, you know, all that superficial stuff is going on, but we need to see what's going on beneath. There's a lot of activity going on in the depths too. And I feel that there's a need to just kind of relax into your energies, into your emotions, to feel these things come up, to notice the negative spaces and how they're coming up maybe in your body, and what messages may be coming from them. as we get into, because the new moon in Cancer is very sensitive. It's very intuitive. It's that connection back to home. And I feel like not just like your roots, like where you were born, but I mean like from God, from like universe, from source self, universal oneness, like that type of thing. So yeah, allow yourself to relax into that, and I feel that who knows where that may take us all, because we're all kind of swimming through this nebulous sea right now, and this again, it's a lot of water energy that's going on. And if just a sidebar, even if you don't really look into your soul return charts, just know between this point and probably for a little bit, there's going to be, probably over the next month, there's going to be a lot of water in the solar returns. So there's going to be a lot of emotional stuff that's coming up. My solar return chart, especially if you got close here, like around like if your solar return chart has that new moon in Cancer, you're going to have a lot of water in these personal planets. So stay tuned to the moon with that. And yeah, and I'm going to talk about this more too, Cancer, but we're getting ready to get to where the lunar cycles are getting back into their natural flow again. You know how it's been like we've getting to the new moon in Leo, then we're greeted by a full moon. It's like now we're going to get to the proper cycle where it's like we get to the sun in Leo, then we have a new moon in Leo, then later we have the full moon in Aquarius. So the cycles are getting ready to reset. And so I feel like where things have been feeling a little off, we're about to get back into this flow here, Cancer. So I'm going to leave that there. So stay present out there, Cancer. Stay mindful. Keep eyes on the moon, seize the day and the night. Keep your eyes on the sky there, Cancer. Watch I feel like and I mean, well, granted, the moon's getting to that little sliver where she's just smiling and she's about to disappear. But even then, I feel like that's even a great time, looking at the moon and sensing her when there's nothing in the sky. I feel like that can be even more powerful sometimes, and not more powerful, but that can be just as powerful of an experience as when she's shining bright in the sky. And I will catch you, Cancer, on the next one. Oh, what day is that? Jupiter Day for the new moon. Well, wait, that doesn't start till later. Jupiter Day. Oh, and I gotta bring this back over here.